In this lesson, we're looking at recent evidence and research into the brain and learning, specifically in the area of memory, and using techniques to improve our own memory. Why is this important? Well, we know that the learning process requires us to commit new information to memory. So obviously, the more we can remember, the more we can learn. Before we get started with looking at a technique to improve our memory function and our learning, it's important to understand that there are 3 stages to the memory process: the encoding stage, the consolidation stage, and the retrieval stage. The memory technique you will learn about in this lesson is focused on what we call the encoding stage of the memory process, which, according to research, is where the majority of memory failures take place. But what does that mean, the encoding process? The encoding process simply refers to the process of learning new information, and the technique you will learn about today with this encoding to learn new information. The technique is called Imagery Association, or simply the association technique for short, by which we attach a mental image to a verbal idea. Now, according to research, by doing this, the brain is encoding the information to your verbal memory network, and at the same time to the visual and spatial part of the brain. In other words, you are learning the same information in 2 different parts of the brain. And because you're learning the same information in more than one way, this makes the information easier to remember. Let's try this association technique together by learning the first 5 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in Japanese. 1 in Japanese is ichi. 2 in Japanese is ni. 3 in Japanese is san. 4 in Japanese is yon, and 5 in Japanese is go. How did I learn these numbers? Using the association technique, matching the words to images and actions, so when my brain thinks of the number 1 in Japanese, for example, I see the image of a head being scratched, or I associate it with the action ichi. Recent evidence has shown the power of association. Our brains are like folders on a computer, sorting newly learned information in the same folders as already learned information. Now, for your task, you're going to be applying this technique, this association technique, to see how effective it is. Begin by looking at these seemingly unrelated words, then spend 30 seconds trying to memorize them. You will probably find that it is difficult to memorize all of these unrelated words. However, if we use images instead of words, we can use the association technique to connect the images as part of a story. For example, looking at these images, your story might start off as David Beckham ate his apple and spaghetti. He dressed up as Santa Claus. Now that's just one of many possible examples. Quite silly, I know. But your task in today's lesson is to write a short story which connects all of these different images together. After you've written your story, doesn't matter how silly it is, see if it helps you to remember the words any better than if you were not associating the words with images and you were not creating a story out of those images. Have a go, see how you get on.